You're listening to the Morphology Podcast. Thanks for tuning into the Morphology Podcast, aka Murph here to share interviews about biking experiences from cyclists who have pedaled to places all over. Each episode, we'll get to know new people and explore new destinations to ride your bike. As you listen to these adventures, you may wonder, why haven't I done that yet? Sherry Ott is back to talk to us about bike tours in other countries. You may remember Sherry from a few years back when we did an episode highlighting her bicycle quest to go from Capitol building to Capitol building across the entire United States. That episode I've listed in our show notes. Sherry is celebrating 20 years of Ottsworld, which is her travel blog that features her travels and small group tours that take tourists off the beaten path. She's going to tell us about her recent bike tours and also provide us with some great tips on how to choose a bike tour that fits your style of riding. You can check out all of her travels at ottsworld.com. Here's Sherry. A very warm welcome back to Sherry Ott from Ottsworld. Hey, Sherry.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me again. I feel so lucky.
Yeah, we were just talking before we pushed record, and that episode I mentioned in the intro, that was like 4 or 5 that was years ago that we talked. So
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to like kind of catch up with where you've been since then and if you're still on your bike, which I guess spoiler alert, if you're on this podcast, of course you're still biking here and there.
I didn't give up yet. No.
Well, I want to tell the listeners a little bit more about what Ottsworld is. But before we do that, will you remind us where you live and if there's a cycling culture there?
Oh, yes. I love talking about this. I live in Denver, Colorado. And I think one of the best kept secrets about Denver is its connected bike paths.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can go out and ride, 75 miles and never get on a road.
Oh,
It's
wow.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then are you talking like mountain bike trails or actually road paved trails?
Paved.
Oh.
Yeah, most of it's all paved. There's also a Highline trail that goes between gravel and paved. But yeah, most of these are all paved. It's amazing. The trail system here in Denver that takes you kind of right to the foothills of the mountains are amazing.
Awesome. I have definitely been to Denver many, many times, but I'm trying to think if I've ever actually biked within the city, and I don't know that I have.
Oh my goodness, we need to do that next time you're here.
I know, for sure. Yeah. And tell us, like your company is called Ottsworld, and I absolutely love it. I think I've been following you before we actually met and podcasted. So I would really be curious to know a little bit of the background of what it is now and maybe how it came to be.
Oof. Thank you. I'm actually celebrating 20 years of operating as Ottsworld. I know this year. So it's a travel blog. It started out as a travel blog. And it started in 2006 when I was taking an around the world trip. I took a break from my corporate job. And then, spoiler alert, I never really went back. So it was more than a break. It ended up a career change. But it was really in the early stages of blogging. We didn't have social media at that time, et cetera. So I kind of grew up, my brand grew up through this whole, insurgence of social media and blogging and websites and creators and all of this stuff. And so I've kind of just been holding steady for 20 years, trying to keep up. But yeah, so I mainly focus on travel writing and travel blogging and creating content for travel. And it's always, it's evolved through the years, obviously, but right now it's really solidly in adventure travel. So a lot of hiking and biking. Biking is something, though, that is still relatively new. I started cycling during COVID. And so it's all kind of bike travel is kind of still new to me because it's not something I did before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, any kind of adventure travel, hiking, biking, kayaking, you name it. And then I guess the one last thing I would say about Ottsworld is probably about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, it started also evolving into me offering small group tours to people who follow the website and the newsletter and social media. So now I probably spend half of my time creating and marketing and running my own small group tours around the world, and also then still doing like media coverage of travel, adventure travel around the world.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's something to point out about Ottsworld that you have nailed is that when you say adventure travel, you're multiple steps above an average tour, because I get the feeling that you like to do things like maybe off the beaten path or things that maybe people don't know exist, right? So like if you're going to take a trip to, I don't know, I'll just say Ireland because it was something we were talking about earlier. Your tour will probably go to places that your average Ireland tour won't go to. So you're like a step up on the adventure list, right?
Yes, I hope so. Yes, that is a really good distinction. Like I only do small group tours, and they're absolutely off the beaten track. So, or it might be a very popular location, but maybe it's a very different way to see it that no one's doing.
Okay.
So I really, I don't know, it might be a curse, but like I strive to be unique in everything I do. And so I don't want to just put on the same thing that everyone else is. And I want it to be a trip. When I design my small group tours, I want it to be a trip that I want to go on.
Right.
So it's really about my style of travel.
You get you get to enjoy travel how you want to enjoy it, and then now you realize other people also want to enjoy your style of travel.
Yes, I could bring along other awesome people. It's the best.
Okay, so here's an example, because I do follow you on social media. That's probably not bike related, but all right, listeners, we'll get to the biking part of this podcast. But you did your own tour, and it was, I feel like it was in Japan, but it was focused on cats. And I was like,
yes, I did do that.
This is the perfect match for Ottsworld and Sherry Ott, because you do have a strong, you're a fan of cats, and you went and found cats. So will you give us maybe like the 2-minute version of where you went and how you did it?
Yes, I actually put together the first ever cat tour of Japan. It was a small group tour, and staying true to my style, like we were in Tokyo for 3 days, and we, visited cat temples. The idea is to be able to, I really want to get people out traveling, and I want to get them off the beaten track. And so it was a way for people to go out and experience Japan and Japanese culture kind of through the lens of their cat culture in a way. So we went to temples, where the lucky cat history was kind of started and so on. And we visited like cat neighborhoods where there's lots of cats around. But we also did things like tea ceremonies and food tours and stuff like that. And then I took that group up to a whole completely new area of Japan that people really international travelers don't go to, called Tohoku, because up there is something called Cat Island. And you take a ferry out to Cat Island, and there's more cats than people. And so we did that, but we also did like, a tiger dance. And oh my goodness, you'll like this to bring in the biking. I made them all go biking one day. I don't know that was really well received by the cat ladies. I call them the cat ladies, but I did have them do it because, once again, these are things I like to do, and I think it's important to get out and move on a holiday,
Right.
So anyway, it was so fun and different, and a little out there, but I loved it. It was great.
And you got people to do it. So you know that there are people out there that are willing to do the crazy adventures that you come up with. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so last time you were on the podcast, the reason you were on the podcast, our mutual friend Ryan Van Duzer I think he's the one that recommended that I reach out to you. But you were on this quest to ride your bicycle from capital to capital, so the capital of each state of the United States, not all at once, but as you go state to state, and that's, of course, here in the United States. Are you still working on completing that quest?
Yes, I am. I am deep in it.
Oh,
I've
wow.
since we talked, I've completed 10 routes. And you may remember this was actually a kind of a quest that was started by my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was walking from capital to capital. So I have kind of picked up where he did not finish, which left me about 26 capitals, I believe, capital routes to cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've done 10 of them now.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
feel like I'm firmly like I'm what do I want to say? Like I just I've got it now. Like I understand how to create a route. I
Mm-hmm.
know what to expect, et cetera. I think when we first talked, I had maybe only done one or two tops,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all so new to me. So now I feel like I'm like comfortable with it at least. It's still dangerous cycling on the roads,
Yes.
but I'm comfortable, which is great. And it's so much fun. I'm planning 4 more routes this year.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah. And you even rode a route with me.
Yes. Yeah, I got to help you your final miles into Des Moines, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was so great. And that's actually going to be coming out on video very soon.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally screwed up that day because you and I we launched from different points. You were coming
Oh
towards Des
my
Moines. I was
gosh.
driving, and I decided to take this gravel road to wherever you were stopping for lunch. And it
Yes.
looked beautiful, but it was mud. And I'm all like, "Oh, I can do this. I'm on my adventure bike." And then I broke like almost everything in the back of my bike. And so then I had just like a single speed of pedal power, and we still finished it. But then I was like, we are like, oh, let's go have a beer, let's talk. And then I was at the bike shop the whole time. Remember that? Oh God, it was terrible.
Yes, I do.
And then I was,
Oh, but it was such a fun day. You
it
were the first
was,
person that ever rode with me.
oh God, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I broke my bike.
Yeah.
And I think I was leaving for a 7-day tour the next day. So I was like in
Yeah.
panic mode about, I need to fix this bike. And luckily the bike shop in Des Moines was
Yes.
very accommodating. But anyway, it was really fun.
Yes. So I really appreciated you joining me for a day of that and welcoming me into the Des Moines or into the Iowa State Capitol. That was awesome.
Yeah. And you actually tour the capitals once you arrive. Is that
Mm-hmm.
correct? Or maybe once
Mm-hmm. Yep.
the capital you're taking
Or
off
the
from?
next day, or yeah.
And
Hmm.
can you confidently say that Des Moines, Iowa is your favorite capital?
I want to say it's in my top three. I'm
Really?
serious.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I remember my brother and I took the tour, and it was so historical, and the architecture and everything was so interesting.
Oh,
And
cool.
you have the coolest Capitol library anywhere, hands
Oh,
down.
okay. I've never been to
Have you?
that. No, I
Oh my
know.
God, you have to go into it. It looks like something out of I don't know, Hogwarts or something. Like it is
Mm,
beautiful. Yeah.
wow. And a fun fact, I didn't take you to RAGBRAI headquarters when you were in Des Moines, but RAGBRAI headquarters, you
Hmm.
actually can look out the window and see the Capitol. So it's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I love it.
Okay, and like I mentioned in the intro, you can you can listen to this episode. It's in the show notes to link. And even though at that point, Sherry, you were, kind of fresh on experiencing this
Hmm.
capital, it still is really cool to hear the backstory of your dad and, how it all came to be and your big map. Do you still have the big map with the yarn directing you from
Yes, I do.
do you?
I just moved and I just hung it like this weekend.
Oh, that's so cool. um, anyway, okay. So this episode, we really want to focus on bike tours and travel, and specifically international, because you have had some experience in that. And also, I think that you are either hosting some tours or doing some tours. So
Hmm.
let's talk
Yeah.
about whatever you want to talk about with international bike tours and travel.
Well, gosh, there's all kinds of things we could talk about. I think I
Like,
have done a lot, and I think the reason why, like, I've really been delving into bike travel because, as I said, biking was kind of new to me. So this was a new way for me to experience traveling across a country or a region or whatever. And so I have been trying out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I certainly have tips for how do you choose a bike tour?
Yeah.
Because that can be really confusing. There's a lot of bike companies out there, or
Right.
bike travel companies, let's say. Yeah.
And I appreciate
So,
when I
oh, go
look
ahead.
at like your social media, because I do a ton of bike tours myself, and
Mm-hmm.
have what 30 years of experience of doing them. So I've never ever thought to like hire a guide, and that was the biggest like plus when I was watching your videos is all like, how is she gonna ride her bike around Japan and know what to do and where to go? And then I'm like, oh my God, she's so smart. Like you just hired somebody who knows and then you bike with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which I don't even know
Yeah.
if you want to talk about your Japan trip, but that's the one that I think of right away because maybe it was
Mm-hmm.
your most recent.
It was my most recent, actually. So Japan is a place where I do run some hiking tours and the cat tour, and so I wanted to check out their cycling. Because every country is really different. And the one thing that I always like to kind of look at is what's their cycling infrastructure? How do the road drivers, handle cyclists?
Mm-hmm.
What is the bike fleet like? That kind of stuff. So I was excited to try this, and I had been told that the Shimanami Kaido is kind of the premier bike route, I would say,
Mm.
in Japan. And so I wanted to go check it out. And that's what I did. Now, I did it over the course of 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I had a guide, which was great because it also really helps with the language barrier. And just Japan is a really different enough country that I always recommend getting a guide there, especially at first,
Mm-hmm.
so you have someone to ask questions to and so on. But so the Shimanami Kaido is 46 miles. It's only 46 miles, so you can actually do it in a day.
Mm-hmm.
It goes over 6 islands and 7 bridges in the Seto Island Sea, which
Mm.
is kind of south west a little bit. It's kind of down by Osaka in a way. And what makes it so special is the fact that you cross these 7 bridges
Right.
and you're just island hopping. But it's really interesting. They have this like blue line that you follow, how they mark the trail. It's just a solid blue line.
Hmm.
And you are on roads, but you just follow the blue line and that'll be like the 46 miles and you'll cross all the bridges and so on. And all of the bridges have a bike lane, a dedicated bike lane,
Oh,
which is
wow.
really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the bridges are really long, like 4 or 5 miles. So it's beautiful. You're always, there's always the coast, et cetera. Plus, you have all the beautiful, or you have all the wonderful food,
Mm-hmm.
temples, and stops you can make. So that's why I turned it into 3 days because I really wanted it to be, a combination of like, let's learn about the culture and see things
Mm-hmm.
and get off the bike, as opposed to just doing it all in one day. And you can also there's all these side routes. If you want to do hill climbing, you can do hill climbing. It's really quite versatile. And I think my favorite thing about it is that this is set up for cyclists.
Mm.
So there are hotels that are specifically catering to cyclists on the Shimanami.
Oh, wow.
And like every place has you bring your bike inside your room and you can hang it, or they have a place to work on your bike if you want. It's just phenomenal. It is like a cyclist paradise, because it's so catered towards cyclists.
And
So that was really fun.
the route that you were on, like you said, you kind of bounce from island to island via those bridges. Are
Hmm.
those like, describe the population? Like, are you going into like villages or is it actually high population, and you're
Nope.
biking in the middle of it?
No. So I would say where you start and where you end, those are high population areas.
Mm, okay.
However, I mean, but you don't really have to bike through those cities. You just basically, you're leaving that first city, and at the end, you're entering the last city, and you stop at the end of the bridge
Mm.
and so on. So you don't have to like cycle through big cities. The rest is all really rural, and it's just tiny, tiny fishing villages,
Ah, okay.
sleepy little fishing villages. Some are a little bit bigger than others, but really, gosh, I mean, they're quiet. So it's not like there's much traffic or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they have like, hot springs or onsens in Japan and stuff like that. And some, like I said, this infrastructure has really been set up around cyclists. So there's good restaurants and hotels and yeah,
Hmm.
it's wonderful. It's very chill, I would say.
Which for, I mean, at least my style of biking, that's exactly what I want. I want to
Yeah.
experience the environment. I don't want to race on my bicycle. I want to
Nope.
see the sights. And which reminds me, oh my gosh. So I know that you take a fancy to, locally made drinks, like that they, shake and stir right in front of you. So I'm sure
Yes.
you found those, but also I don't understand salt ice cream. Like, what the heck was that?
Oh my God, it was so good. Um, yeah, that was Japan. So Japan has the coolest ice cream flavors ever, and I try to make it my mission to try all the weird ones.
Yeah.
Um, and and along the Shimanami Kaido, there's enough places for ice cream, but that whole route is really weirdly known for its citrus. A lot of the citrus in the country is grown there.
Oh.
So I came across some really great like orange and lemon ice creams, but there was also an area or an island that was known for its salt production,
Hmm.
and they make salt ice cream. And then, and my best way to describe it, I know it sounds weird at first, but my best way to describe it is, I mean, we all love like salted caramel ice cream. So
Sure.
this is
Yeah.
kind of like salted vanilla ice cream in a
Hmm.
way.
Okay.
So, but then they actually shake salt on top of it, like, kind of big
Like big
granules.
sea
It's
salt.
so
Yeah.
good.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. You're biking, you need salt,
Sure. Yeah.
so it was really refreshing.
I mean, I would not turn it down if it was put in front of me, but I don't know that I would seek it out.
Oh, I sought it out. Yeah.
Okay, so Japan, that was a pretty unique cycling tour. I
Yeah.
top of mind, I'm also thinking of Ireland, and I'm also thinking of, oh my God, Patagonia last year. So what other
Yes.
bike tours do you want to tell us about, or maybe that you specifically want to recommend?
Yeah, I mean, well, we can talk about Ireland. I have not taken a cycling tour there, but I've taken a lot of hiking tours there,
Okay.
and I've done day cycling trips there. So Ireland has been working really hard at expanding they call them greenways, which are specific cycling paths. So those are like no cars, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice. And you'll see those like out of a lot of the main cities on the West Coast, well, or anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have a little greenway. But as you would guess, Ireland, at least once you get out of Dublin and you kind of go over to the West Coast, it's a really quiet, rural area, which is great for cycling, and it's scenic. So you'll see a lot of great cycling opportunities there. It is
Mm-hmm.
road cycling mainly, but it's really quiet roads. And in fact, you see a picture of them. It's kind of like Scotland too. You see a picture of these roads and you're like, no, that's a bike path, right? And you're like, no, a car actually does go on that
Oh my
road.
gosh.
Doesn't look like a car will fit in there. But there's really very little traffic. And the nice thing is that's a country that is used to cyclists.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's an important thing to think about when you're choosing a bike tour, and we can get into that a little bit more. But is you do want to kind of understand, like, is this a country that's used to seeing cyclists on the road?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go back to Japan for a second, and I'm going to say Japan is not a country where you see a lot of cyclists on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I really liked that Shimanami Kaido trail, because that, even though it was on roads, they are used to seeing cyclists there because
Sure.
there's so many people that do it. But if you just kind of go other places in Japan, it might not be as people might not be used to seeing that as much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in Ireland, they are. And so that part's really nice. You can stay on all these little back roads, and the worst thing you're going to be dodging is a few potholes and sheep.
Mm.
Like, it's gorgeous. You can ride the coast. Yeah. So, and the other thing they have there, and we'll talk about this a little bit on choosing tours, is there's a lot of options for self-guided,
Mm.
like you said you like to do,
Right.
or guided, really. And you just bike from little town to little town. You stop in the pubs, um, at the end of the night or whatever, and you're staying in little like bed and breakfasts or guest houses. So it's really quaint and a great way to also get immersed in the culture.
Yeah. And I was going to
Yeah.
say
So,
those kinds of tours probably utilize, similar routes every single time. So then that
mhm.
means the locals maybe expect to see you a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So, yeah. So, and that's also, it can be quite hilly there too on the West Coast. It depends. I mean, there are passes. If you want to do hill climbs, you can do hill climbs out
Mm-hmm.
there easily. Or you can kind of stick to more of the rural kind of just fields and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So Ireland is a really great option for cycling tours for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh yes, Patagonia. Oh, so
Those
I did that
those
one last year.
photographs, Sherry, those photographs were
Hmm.
beyond epic. Like
Yeah.
I was amazed. And you had I would not consider it ideal weather, but it did not seem to
No,
bother any of you.
I know. And I had beginning bikers, like I had beginning bike travel people on that trip.
Hmm.
So this is a tour that I run. And the reason why I run it, I mean, Patagonia is a very popular destination. So what makes this unique is there are not many cycle tours, if any, that are offered around. Specifically, I'm talking about Torres del Paine in Patagonia. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the Chilean side of Patagonia, and a very, very, very popular national park that is known for their hiking.
Mm.
So most people are going there and hiking. There's a couple of really famous treks. Um, so to go there and cycle is really unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is you brought it up earlier, it's the weather. So most people don't take on, well, there's no companies really, not many companies taking on cycling tours there because the weather is so unpredictable. You're in a very remote part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
The winds can get up to 50 miles an hour regularly. I mean, you can't even keep the bike up.
Oh wow.
At times. So it can be really, really tough. And that's why most companies don't bother with it. But I found a company that was running e-bike tours there, and you don't have an option of like a regular bike.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do e-bike. And they do that, and they have really good ones. They're, mountain bikes, so they're kind of heavy duty. They do that because it is the one thing that you can deal with the wind on, right?
Sure,
An
sure.
e-bike. I will say, it's still hard if there's a crosswind and then, it's wanting to blow you over. but you can normally keep it up. But yeah, so once they kind of introduced the idea of e-bikes to that region, that made it possible
Mm-hmm.
to actually tour that region around Torres del Paine National Park by bike. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful area. Once again, like I said, super remote. And what we're doing is on this cycle trip is riding our e-bikes from estancia to estancia. So this is your way that you really get involved in the culture
Mm.
too. Mainly gravel roads. There's no one on it. And we're staying at working ranches. These aren't necessarily hotels. So because they're not hotels, we also have a private chef that's traveling with you because
Oh
there's not
wow.
really a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're staying in bunkhouses. Like it's a really different way to travel. Um, so it's spectacular. And you will, we you've seen the videos, I think, that I shared, but there's like wild horses running over the road next to you.
Oh,
There's
wow.
guanacos. There's these rhea birds that look like ostriches. It feels like you're in the middle of a safari, and you can see so far because it's kind of this high step grasslands and so on, where they have all this livestock that grazes. And yeah, you're cycling between ranches, and then the last day we arrive in the park.
Mm.
And I love it because that's kind of normally where everyone starts and kind of the only place they go. And so for us, we've spent all week cycling around the park, meeting locals, and then we get to the park and we end. And I
Yeah.
love that.
A quick interruption to tell you this week's podcast is sponsored by Lizard Lips Lip Balm. These great lip balms contain natural ingredients, come in a variety of flavors, and you can choose certified organic or balms with sun protection. Check it out at lizardlips.net. Now back to the show. And so you did this in 2025, correct?
Yes.
And is it something that you are going to do again?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, it's really one of my top probably 5 trips that I've ever taken in the world.
Oh,
So
wow.
it ranks up there like with Antarctica to me.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm doing it again this November, a very small group because these estancias really don't have the capacity to do very many people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a small group, but we're going in November and going to run that tour again. So yeah,
Wow. And are
I'm
you
very
full? Are you
excited.
full yet?
No, not yet. No.
Oh.
So there, we still have some space if people are interested, and or if you just want to learn more, I can send you videos of kind of what you can expect. But it's really remote and mountainous and beautiful.
Oh man, that's like Patagonia. I only think of like hiking or going up mountains, and the fact that you have
Yeah.
added biking to it, like, ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. You don't see many cyclists out there, and because of that, actually, that's what makes the wildlife so good because the wildlife out there, horses, even the sheep, the wanakos, they don't see people on bikes, so they
Oh,
don't know
right.
what we are. And that's what actually makes the horses like run along with you because and then they'll stop and look at you and they're trying to figure you out and they don't know if you're an animal or a person. And
Right.
it's really cool.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
you went to Antarctica, but
Hmm.
please tell me there was not biking there, right? I mean,
No.
do I have to add Antarctica to my list of places to go bike?
Well, you probably, you could easily take a fat bike, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
And I've never thought about that before, but I kind of like that idea.
Yeah. I mean, they make snowsuits that you can pedal in, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, write that one down for a future maybe
I'll work
potential.
on that.
So, so you've had extensive experience on tours of all kinds. But if we get
Hmm.
into specifically bike tours, what are some tips that you could give us listeners on how to go about it, how to pick it, where to go?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing to really consider is, do I want self-guided or do I want guided? I mean, that's going to be your first decision point. Self-guided, you're going to have a lot more freedom, most likely. You're going to have to plan everything, though. It might end up a little bit cheaper. And I think for certain countries or places, that works out really well,
Mm-hmm.
especially maybe a destination where you don't need to maybe learn as much about that particular culture because you're already familiar with it.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. I just find guides to be really helpful when you want to learn about a country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so and the self-guided, you have all this flexibility, right? Most all companies will give you some sort of GPS navigation.
Mm-hmm.
So the self-guided is pretty easy. And lots of them will just go from village to village. They'll set up all the self-guided trips. At least I know they do this in Ireland. They set up all of the hotel. They'll transfer your luggage. they'll, give you the bike to rent or the bike to use. And so all you really have to do is pedal, and the company that you're working with will handle all the logistics still. You just won't have a guide. And then if you want to do guided, like I said, I like to do those in countries maybe where it's a little bit more new to me and I really want to learn it. Maybe there's a big language barrier or something like that. Maybe, there's more traffic or something like that on the road. So you want more safety in numbers kind of thing. But with guided, you may not, I'm going to put a caveat on that. You may not have as much flexibility because some companies will give you a guide and then, everyone as a group follows the guide. However, there are some exceptions to that. And we can talk about that in a second. But I think that's your first thing you should probably think about, guided versus self-guided. Guided is also more expensive typically. And then I think the next things you really have to think about is, okay, great. So what do I look for in a bike tour company if I do self-guided or guided? And of course, there's another way here, which is totally independent, which, you just organize all yourself. But, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think. But anyway, when you're looking for a bike tour company, I think it's really important to chat with the companies that you're thinking about. One of the first things you want to figure out is what is their bike fleet, right? So how new is it? How well is it kept up? What are your options? Like what are the brands? That kind of stuff, right? So I'll ask about the bike fleet, get that information. I think you also want to think about, is this a company that is cycle first or is it destination first? So, because that's going to tell you the kind of people that you might be traveling with, et cetera. If it's cycle first, it's going to be way more about the mileage, the climbs, that type of stuff, right? And if it's destination first, it's going to be way more about the let's stop at this cheese stop or, cheese shop, or let's do a winery tour in France, or, so, and the mileage is normally a little bit less. You have e-bikers, you've got all levels, et cetera. When I think of cycle first, I think of someone like Trek Travel or something like that. Those are normally pretty serious cyclists, but they're doing it in another country or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a big thing to really think about. What is it that you want? What are you looking for?
Right.
And then, can you bring your own gear? I think that's always a great question to ask a company. And if you can bring your own gear, will they install it? Like, do you bring your own seat? Do you bring your own pedals, or do you, I don't know, one of the trips I took in southern France, they were great. You could bring anything. So I brought my bike computer, my radar, I even brought my mirror, my little drop handlebar mirror, because I love having a mirror, seeing what's behind me.
Right.
And lots of times they don't furnish that stuff, and it always kind of drives me crazy. So yeah, figure out like what exactly can you bring? Will they install it? What are their rules on that type of stuff? And then I think another thing to ask a company is probably like road riding versus back roads. So kind of understand, how much road riding is it? How busy are the roads? Practically every cycle tour that you take, you're going to end up on a busy road once or twice.
Right.
But, how much of that time, what percentage of that time, and what are the back roads like, kind of thing. As I mentioned, like Ireland is great for back roads. Normally, lots of places in Europe, I would say, are good for back roads. The Patagonia trip that I run on is all back roads. So those are the kind of questions I would ask. And then the last thing I would probably inquire about is group size, right? So how big a group? Let's say it is a guided tour. It's how big of a group is it? How many people do you really want to travel with? But more importantly, is it required that you stick together if you're on a group tour?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Most companies that do group tours will say yes. We'll have we'll have a lead cyclist and maybe someone that brings up the rear, and you need to stay in between those two, kind of thing. You might be a little bit spread out, but so, if that's not your kind of riding that you like to do, then that's probably not a good option for you.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few other options, I would say. I did a southern France trip with Experience Plus. They're a long time. I think they've been operating for about 50 years.
Mm-hmm. They've been on
family
They've been on the
owned.
podcast too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I did one of their tours. That was the first one I had done with them. I'm doing another one this year, in southern France. And one of the things that I loved about it was a group tour. It was what I would call destination focused.
Mm-hmm.
However, you did not have to stay together. So you didn't have a guide that you were riding with, but the guide was there every night, so you could ask questions and, and you had your meals together and all that kind of stuff. But they would basically start out and the guide every morning, like super early, and lay down chalk arrows. And so then you could start whenever you wanted to, and you just followed the arrows.
Sure.
Yeah, it was really, really different. And to my knowledge, they're really one of the only companies that does it that way. It's kind of this hybrid model of group bike travel. So really fun. And I rode with different people every day. Sometimes I rode alone. Sometimes I would start with people and they would drop me and I would end up alone or whatever. But you all just kind of show up, you finish and end up at the hotel whenever you end up. And so it's great. They do have, someone out in a car to be kind of a SAG vehicle, but they're not necessarily following behind you, but they're on call that whole time in a way.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really neat. So I really enjoyed their style of group bike travel.
I think,
so those are some of the things I would think about.
Yeah, listening to, your tips about everything, it kind of comes down to, for me, I would say my anxiety and stress level. Like if I want to go to a new country, like for example, Japan, I would not want to go to Japan and do a self-guided tour. I just wouldn't because of the language barrier. I don't know enough about the towns, and like I would feel so much better and safer and smarter even because a guide would be telling me about the cool places and where to eat, and like I love that idea. But there are other places I would go that maybe I would feel more confident, and like I did a tour in Mexico where I felt very comfortable, where they just said, we'll meet here for lunch. And then they give you your GPS map and away you go. And, you bike alone or with friends. And it was very comfortable for me as well. So I understand what you're saying. And, that's step one, is to sit there and go, what kind of bike tour do I want? And then from there, what do you do? Is it just a matter of Googling companies that maybe fit that subject matter?
Yeah, I think so. Googling the destination. Well, it depends on, is there a destination you already have in mind or not, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so Googling that destination. And also if you already have a destination in mind, I always suggest going out to the tourism website, because you can see right away, like if they're talking about cycling on that tourism website, then it probably means they have a decent cycling infrastructure.
Right. Yeah.
So that can kind of key you in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I would search it. I would search for some articles that would give you like this, or search for podcasts like this that, can give you some advice of like, hey, try Experience Plus, try Ireland Walk Hike Bike, they can give you some examples of companies that run stuff like that. So yeah, that people have taken that they can recommend.
And I know one resource that people can go to immediately as soon as they're done listening to this podcast. They can go to Ottsworld.com.
Oh, yes. I actually have an article about this, like how to choose a bike tour, because it was like I said, it was kind of new to me. And so these are all the things that I've thought of. And so yes, and in that I do list, here are some of my preferred companies that I've worked with and really enjoy. But yeah, absolutely.
And then I think the only tip I would add to your tips would be whether or not you are comfortable riding a bike that's not yours. Because you can travel with your bike, but in my experience, most of the tours that I go on are more experience based and destination based. So I'm fine, either renting the bike that they have in the tour, or like I did a Florida bike ride from Miami down to the Keys, and I was with a little bit more aggressive cyclists. And so I just, they just told me what the closest bike shop was. And then I just, rented a road bike.
Interesting.
Which in theory, renting the road bike might have been a little bit more expensive. But once you actually pack up or, dismantle your bike, put it in a box, pack it, move it, stress out on whether or not it's actually going to make it to the destination.
So my God. I know.
Sometimes it's easier just to rent. And I think, most of the tours that you have been part of, either the bikes are part of the experience or they have a resource for you. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely true.
Okay. A quick interruption to tell you this week's episode is sponsored by the Buffalo Lodge Bicycle Resort. Located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, this is the outdoor enthusiast ideal place to stay for fun and relaxation. The lodge is nestled at the base of Pikes Peak and just a half mile from Garden of the Gods Park. Learn more at bicycleresort.com. Now back to the show.
I will say that the one in Japan that I just did, the Shimanami Kaido, there were a lot of bike choices there.
Okay.
So you could get in fact, Giant, the brand Giant, had a whole like hotel and bike shop there that you could rent from them. So you could get some really high-end bikes if you wanted, or you could just get, regular bikes or e-bikes or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a big choice there, I would say. But yeah, normally I go with whatever bike the tour company has, but I'd still like to know, how good are they? What are my choices?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when I did Experience Plus, I had a regular road bike with drop handlebars and so on. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And then halfway through, I switched over to a road e-bike.
Oh, and then it became more great.
Yes, to kind of see what it was like. I was curious. So yeah.
I think, bike in general, it's going to come down to comfort. If you're like you said, climbing the hills in France, you probably want a different bike than when you're on a flat, gravel road versus, like when I was in Mexico, I don't think there was any elevation. It was just more of the fun of going to the little villages, and I was fine with that. So anyway.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be killing yourself every day.
Right.
In fact, some of the best times is, drinking wine and eating cheese and
talking to the people,
cycling a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you think of cycling, do you have any upcoming adventures or travels that, we can follow you along?
Yes, I have a lot actually this year. This is kind of like my year of cycling. It's weird. So I do, as far as following, I have these 4 capital routes that I'm going to be doing this year. And the interesting thing is one of them, I'm actually going to run as a tour.
Cool.
So yeah, totally different. I decided to try this. Normally I just do the capital stuff on my own with a logistics queen, with one other person really, kind of being my support. But this one, I'm going from Augusta, Maine to Montpelier, Vermont. And it's only about 200 miles or so, which is pretty short in the realm of capital routes. And I'm like, everyone, I thought, what if I did this in October or in the fall season and invited people to come with me? And so I'm working with a tour operator based out of Portland, Maine, that does, multi-day bike travel. And I knew him from before. And so I started talking to him, and he helped me put together a whole custom route that goes from capital to capital. And I think I have 4 spots left on it right now. I think I have 8 people signed up. We have a maximum of 12. and that's in the beginning of October. So we should hopefully get some really nice fall foliage. It should be great. So I have that coming up. That's capital to capital, but also a tour, which is really fun.
Right.
Let's see what else. Oh, I have the Patagonia trip in November, so that'll be their spring, which is really a lovely time to be down there. So that'll be fun. That's a week long. Trying to think, what else do I have coming up? And then I'm doing Portugal this June with Experience Plus.
Oh, cool.
Again. Yeah. And I'm also going to be in Ireland running a hiking tour, of which I'm going to take an extra couple of days to do some cycling there too. So yeah, lots and lots going on in the cycling world. And then since I talked about this, the Shimanami Kaido, I'm looking to run probably also as an Ottsworld tour because I'll add on a bunch of different things with it. But it was just such a unique route that I'd love to offer that. And I'll probably do that in November of 2027 or 2020. Yeah, 2027. Sorry.
Okay.
So a little ways off. But
so if somebody's listening
some of the things.
Somebody's listening to this and they are like, well, this is my year. I want to go to Patagonia, or I can't get out of the country, but I think I want to do the thing in Maine. Do you have like a central place that says, here are the tours that I have open?
Oh, yeah.
People are ready. Like, where would they go?
Yeah. Just ottsworld.com, OTTS world.com. And then once you get to that homepage, I have a whole section on tours that you can just click on. It's in the heading. And then you'll see all of the available tours that I'm running, which will be a combination of, it's not just cycling. I have 2 or 3 cycling tours, but then I have a bunch of hiking. I just launched a surfing tour for women in South Africa. So yeah, just a whole variety. But the Patagonia, the main tour is there, and then the Shimanami Kaido will be there too.
Excellent. Okay, so ottsworld.com. And then where I see you is on the socials. So you have a very robust Instagram page. And I guess we never even talked about the fact that you also have a little bit of cat content occasionally.
Yes, I foster kittens when I'm home. So, in fact, I have 3 of them right now, and they're adorable. So, yes, I put up cat content when I'm not traveling.
All right, Sherry, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing some, information about international bike tours. And I appreciate the tips, and go to ottsworld.com, right?
Yes, I hope you can join me on one of these.
Me too. All right, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Well, listeners, that's it for this week. Email me at murphologypodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic or the name of a cyclist you find interesting. And visit both my Facebook and Instagram pages for daily entertainment. I have more great episodes in the pipeline, so I hope you continue to be a Murphology Podcast listener.